Hey everyone, have I here bringing a video on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. In this video, we're going to be going over the data download for both Global and JP, and all the EZAs and Dokkan Awakenings that we're actually getting from the World Tournament, and everything else from Saiyan Day. So with that, if you're new to my channel, like, subscribe, comment below, do all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So I'm just going to really quickly go through what we are getting, right? So of course both of the games are getting a world tournament, thus you can see some of the awakenings and the EZAs. On top of that, we're also getting on global, finally we get Pilaf and some other EZAs that JP's already had, and of course these new EZAs right here. So we'll quickly go over these. Most of you guys probably already seen all of this here, at least the Super Vegeta, right? This came out last night, but I didn't really give you guys my insights or how I feel about it. So let's go ahead and dive into that first. So this is going to be 170% to Master Evolution and Pure Saiyans. You know, I'm hoping in the future they really start to push these to 180, or to maybe even like 190, something of that nature, because the 200% meta is so important at this point in time. And even when we EZA these units here, the leader skills just aren't beneficial. And for me, leader skills are very beneficial in this game, being that this is a team-oriented game. But anyway, this unit here does raise defense for 1 turn, causes miss damage to enemy, and all attacks become critical hits for 1 turn. This is one of the most strong super attacks really in the game, right? Guaranteed crits for that turn. Now they ended up actually boosting this unit fairly well. I could have hoped for a few extra little tweaks, but it is going to be a key +2 attack and defense 200%, which that's a 50% increase from previously. So this was the previous stat here, but as we can see, all these other things that we're going to get on top, one is very beneficial, which is guard against all attacks for 5 turns. I really wish this was 7 turns versus 5 turns, given that there are some fights here that are lasting a lot longer, but for some of the shorter fights on here, 5 turns is going to be definitely enough. Now you get a plus an additional attack and defense 100% when performing a super attack, then another 50% attack and defense with each super attack performed up to 100%. Just kind of multiplying all these here. This is probably the reason why that this is going to go in 5 turns, because you're going to be boosting up the attack and defense up to 100 here with each super attack performed, and you're also going to get an additional attack and defense 50% within the same turn after receiving an attack, which is already an issue where it was before, and they did not remove that. But I would have liked to see the buff a little bit more than 50%, maybe 100%. You know, because that one first attack is going to be an issue. Now you do have this incredible add-on, but it is only available when you are fighting against a unit that is includes the name Cell. Cell Juniors excluded, and as far as I know, Cell Maxes are also excluded on this as well. So yeah, I don't know why they ended up doing it that way, but yeah, Cell Max is a different unit than Cell in of itself, so that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I really wish it was, you know, Cell Max usable. So this launches additional supercast, this is in the same turn after receiving an attack plus an additional attack defense 50%, and then guards all attacks when there is that Cell enemy. So, and then stuns enemies attack by character super attack, which is beneficial if you're using to fights that allow you to stun a character, but generally speaking, endgame is not going to provide that. Everything else pretty much stays the same, so I'm not going to go through all that. But this is fine. This is still a newer unit, so I would have expected more. They could have easily just said, you know, we're just going to guard. They could have just easily did that, because again, this is a 2022 unit, and we're getting this quite early. They really should have made this unit stronger. But again, hey, I'm fine with it. This should be working well on the Vegeta team. So let's go ahead and now move into some of you guys, you know, maybe haven't seen this yet here, and that is the EZA to Android 16. Leader skill doesn't matter. The super attack here raises the defense for 1 turn, and then massively lowers defense with the supreme damage enemy. They added on, yeah, they added on that greatly raises defense. This is going to be a very interesting unit, given that this has always been a unit that you wanted to run with the Dokkan Festival exclusive LRAGL Gohan, transforming into Super Saiyan on here, but he wasn't very good. But it seems like they adjusted a lot of things, and it should be a great unit to run on that rotation. You get Ki +2 attack defense 160%, guards automatically, which you had a high chance of guarding before. So see, this is what I don't get. They could have just did this same thing with Vegeta here. I know he didn't have guard before, and having 5 turns is great. Could have been 7 turns, 10 turns, something a little bit more robust there. But anyway, you got guard right there. It's huge. Plus an additional attack defense 80% when attacking, and then a high chance of performing a critical hit within the same turn receiving an attack. Reduces damage by 16% whenever guard is activated, which is always activated, up to 48%. All right, so that is absolutely huge there. And then on top of that, plus an additional 80% attack and defense, 160% defense, and then all allies Ki +3 and attack and defense 58%. Huge buff there when your team has Super Saiyan Gohan Youth or Super Saiyan 2 Gohan Youth attacking in the same turn. So huge buff, huge buff. So this is absolutely a usable unit. They did a lot here. Is this proccing basically per turn? Are you getting guard boosted up to 48% basically per turn because it's guarding all attacks every single turn? Is that what I'm seeing here, or is it when he gets hit? Because if he gets hit in one turn, he's going to have 48% damage reduction, guard against all attacks with all this stuff. Yeah, this is, again, I don't get, Dokkan Festival exclusive unit, not Dokkan Festival exclusive unit. Anyway, this is one of the more impressive EZAs out of the bunch, so it's going to be fun to use. And when Gohan, well, the problem is you have to run it on a particular team, right? Because Gohan and Android 16 generally is on the same team unless it's Android Cell Saga. So anyway, let's go ahead and move into then the Cell Juniors. I looked at this before here. Great. It's this right here. It's a boosting unit here. Oh, let me look at this real quick. Attack defense 1 turn, lowers attack defense fine. 150%, and then again, this is a support unit, but everything else really isn't all that beneficial, right? So you have a chance of evading enemy attack, including 10% to artificial life. Yeah. You can't really run this unit because you'll die, right? You're not going to tank much of really anything. Seeing if there's anything else that, yeah, it's an orb changing, has additional attack, high chance of becoming a super attack. Yeah, not that great. So, amazing, not that great at all. And then finally, the other Super Vegeta. And this was very interesting, like looking at this unit, because it's doing some interesting things. And could it be more usable than the Dokkan Fest, right? I don't think so, but it could be in certain situations. So the Steel Super attacks, raises attack for 9 turns, defense 150%, plus an additional 100% performing super attack if HP is 50% or less, which is not very good, right? So that's not all that beneficial. Launches additional attack has a great chance of becoming a super attack, but you're only just boosting this. And then it reduces damage received by 30% flat out. So it's damage reduction versus a 5-turn guard, right? So that's kind of where now we're talking, right? And then plus an additional damage reduction 20%. So now you have 50% if HP is 70% or less, and additional 20% when HP is 50% or less, and additional damage reduction at 20% when HP is 30% or less. So you can basically get up to 90% damage reduction if your HP is 30% or less, which is very scary, but that's very interesting, right? That's very interesting. Now you generally want to stay above 70% here, so maybe 50% is what you're probably going to end up getting most of the time, because you might get a little bit pretty scary when you're in this kind of scenario. But this is kind of very interesting because on top of that, you also support a lot of units. All allies Ki +1 attack defense 25%, plus an additional Ki +2, and an additional 25% for AGL, STR, and physical allies. again, certain situations could be very, very interesting here with all this damage reduction, but it is HP restrictive, so it can put you in a position where you're not reducing that much, and all you really have is like this. But when your HP is 50% or less, you have like a lot of stuff. Like, was that 40-70% damage reduction, and all this extra stats. So anyway, I still think this Super Vegeta is still going to be overall more useful, but again, very interesting what they ended up doing with this EZA here. Now that is global in a sense. I'm not going to go through Peel Off and all these other EZAs since you guys have seen them already. So just expect, hey, we have another World Tournament basically tomorrow, and just look out for that. Now, when you're looking at the JP version of the game, there are some interesting add-ons, right? Because of the World Tournament here. I think most of you guys seen this unit EZA here, but we have a Dokkan Awakening to Shen. And he's very interesting here. So this Dokkan Awakening to Shen here, he goes from a much weaker unit to, in a sense, a very usable unit if you, I guess, use him correctly when it comes to dodging mechanic, right? So this is more of a dodging unit here. One turn attack and defense increase significantly, so that's nice there, and then a high chance of stun. So you have a 50% boost to attack and defense for one turn. So you do have increase on, so 150%, and then block special attack. So that's a seal, right? Seal the attacked enemy super attack. High probability of avoiding enemy's attack. And then every time you evade, the probability of evasion is 10% up to 20%, so you can get an additional boost there. And then when you're number 1, you're in the first position, evasion increases by 20%, attack defense increases by 150%. So this is a first position unit with the ability to increase your evasion, your dodging mechanic, but it is definitely a dodge or die unit. You only get a 150% up when you're attacking the second and third position, so you don't get that additional dodge in the second or third. So if you dodge, you always have an additional attack in that turn with a super high probability chance of a super attack, and then an additional attack 100% up to 3 turns. So this is an interesting build, right? You know, you got to have some guts to run this unit up in the front here, and then, you know, maybe dodge or don't dodge. But he's not on many teams, right? He could be a very interesting unit like tournament participants, World Tournament. Yeah, so it's Warriors where he's on Earth as well. So yeah, I think JP is well above these teams right now. Maybe tournament participants, but you have so many other units you can run on tournament participants. Maybe that's just not the right way to go. Let's talk about the EZAs, the other EZAs. One in particular that just bothers me. This was for a long time one of the best support units you could run in the game, right? Before we needed a lot of defense because, you know, end game was, you know, hitting really, really hard. You could just generally run this unit here, get 58% damage reduction, and be fine with it. So you look at the kit, this is really where you ran. You ran a support unit, and you just, okay, great, you just have some damage reduction. And of course, over the years, enemies got a little bit harder, and they did add some stuff here, but it's still nowhere near like the best support unit that you can run on a multitude of different teams. It is going to be usable for sure, but for like super end game, he is going to be a little bit dangerous to run. So, but again, I would still run him on a lot of support spots that you might not have some support units on, because it is boosted up quite a bit, right? So you do get a greatly raises attack for one turn, and the defense increases. So you have 50% and then 30% here. Causes immense damage to the opponent and then medium chance to stun. So you get 158%, which is a huge boost. And then when you do a SA, and you're generally going to run this as a floater anyway, you're going to get an additional 58%. And then you keep the 58% damage reduction. I wish they would have bumped this to 40%. Super type, so super class. is key +3 versus key +2, right? Or key +2. So they just boosted up the key, and they just kept it at 30%, 35 at least. They could have just boosted this up, but you do also get an additional boost here when there's an enemy extreme class, and that furthers increase your attack and defense by 58%, and then reduces the attacks enemy, so debuffs by 20% for 2 turns, which really doesn't matter. So I think when you're fighting an extreme enemy class with these stats here boosted up, and the 58% damage reduction, and then you have the support for everyone else, if you're running a super class team, it is still runnable, but I was expecting, you know, maybe a little bit more boost here on the support, because we have 50%, 60% support now. 30% is very, very amateurish, right? It's not really hugely beneficial. I would have liked to see at least 40%, 50%, and the value would have been a lot better on the high school Gohan here. So let's go ahead and finish the rest of this video up here by talking about Mr. Boo. So Mr. Boo, not much of really anything here. So 120% boost here, further increased by 120%. Oh, sorry, defense increased by basically 50% for 1 turn, and lowers attack. Randomly changes key spheres, attack and defense increased by 50%, and HP is recovered by 30,000 rainbow key sphere obtained, and then reduces damage by 50% when there are 2 or more rainbow key sphere obtained, which is very nice, and then further reduction by 10% with each rainbow key sphere obtained from the third one. So when you get 2, you get 50. When you get 3, you get 60, and then when you get 4, which is very hard to get, you'll get 70%. So I kind of like this. Again, this is a little bit RNG-ish. You might get in a situation where you don't have any key spheres, and you don't have anything else to help you on defense. But yeah, again, very interesting team that you possibly could run this unit on as the EZA. So not all that bad, but definitely still usable, right? So, oh yeah, it is. I'm sorry, it is key sphere chains. So you should be okay. Let's go ahead and look at the Super Saiyan Vegeta here. Not much of anything. Let's see, 1 turn, 50% increase, seals, and debuffs defense, 150% increase, further 100% attack and defense when SA is done there. Every time you're attacked, +1 to key, 20% up for maximum of 100%. They could have just added defense there. And if there's a acquired evolution, a category participating in the attack, you would then have a high probability of blocking your attacks, and then each time receiving an attack, there's a critical hit chance of 15% up to 60%. So yeah, probably generally not going to use this much, but you know, if you're missing a slot, you want to run a Vegeta, it could be pretty good. So I think that's pretty much about it. Oh yeah, Jackie Chung, and then if you guys haven't seen this one here, not much to look at. Yeah, really, there's when there's no Pepe Gals, he gets this boost here. Yeah, you're never going to run this unit. If you're free to play, that's fine. You're going to run this unit on here. You can take a look at it. I'm not even going to go through that one. And then this is a very weird unit. So attack increases by 50% and seals. And then attack and defense 100%. Further attack and defense 100% when SA is activated. Evade enemies attack with a low probability, which I'm not too sure exactly what the low probability is. It's like 20% or something like that. And then each time you receive an attack increases by 30% with the probability of evasion is 20% up to 60%. So this is very weird that, wait a minute, you want to dodge, but every time you get hit, you dodge more, right? So they could have provided, here's what they could have done. They could have provided like just like Super Vegeta, the first 5 turns guarding, because you're going to get hit one time, you're going to die. Now, the reason why they're like, okay, you are probably going to get hit a few times here, is you are going to live if your HP is 10% or more for one time. I'm guessing that's one time. It doesn't say like one time only, but and then every time you evade, increases by 30%, 150%, and then probability of critical hit increases by 20%. So you might have to evade first and then increase your defense, and then every time you get hit, then you're gonna get this evasion increase, which increases your I don't know. It's very weird. But you know, if you get hit and you have more than 10% HP, you survive. It's very funny, which is a funny unit anyway for this Jackie Chunk. So anyway, those are the EZAs. Again, we are getting a world tournament on global and on JP, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video here. Oops, where did I go here? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video here. If you are new to my channel, like, subscribe, comment below, do all that good stuff. Thank you all for watching. Keep on Dokkaning. We'll catch you next time. Later.